Hi, I'm Mahila Wilson. This is Straight Answers and Gospel channel. We are in this series called Christian Worldview, and we are looking into different attributes of God. Last week we spoke about God's omnipotence. In this week we are going to be looking into an attribute called sovereignty. So God is sovereign. That is one of Christian faith. And when we say God is sovereign, what do we mean by that? We mean that He has ultimate authority. And we also believe that He has absolute supremacy. Those are the things that we are saying when we say God is sovereign. Means He is the king over all the things and He reigns over all His creation. That's what we are talking about. So now when we say God is sovereign, there is just so many questions and so many divisions among Christianity in this truth. So the question comes because of two reasons: that there is pain and suffering, and how are we going to take care of that with God being a ruler. And also there is this thing called free will. So man has a free will, and we wanted to know, when God is a ruler and whatever He wills, that's what He does in His creation. So how are we going to reconcile the truth of man having a free will, real choices that we make with consequences? How are we going to reconcile these two things? That is where so many questions comes. So if the question is not whether God is sovereign or not, because that cannot be a question for a Christian, because God has to be sovereign. Otherwise, who else can be sovereign over God? Nobody, right? If there is someone sovereign over God, then that is God, or that person is God, not whoever we are talking about. That is not a God. So whoever is ultimate, whoever have ultimate authority, or whoever is absolutely supreme, that deity or that person has to be God. That is the God that we know, because God is omnipotent, God is omniscient, and God is omnipresent. God knows everything, and He knows all the power to accomplish anything He wants to. So if God has all the power that He needs to accomplish whatever He wants to, then He has absolute authority as well. But the question comes, how much of that authority that He uses or He executes in His creation? That is where the question comes from. So there is a truth about God's sovereignty, and there is a truth about man's free will. Both of these things are true. Both of these things are declared in the Bible. So we have to believe these two things. But which side are we falling more is the question. Do we have to fall in either side? So that is the question. There are division of Christians who believe that God is sovereign and that's all matters. There are a group of people who also believe man have a free will and that is what does matter. But there is a place for us to come together and in the middle to reconcile these two truths, because these two things are clearly mentioned in the Bible. So we cannot choose one and deny another, because if we do so, then we are denying Bible itself. So God is sovereign. He rules over everything. Man has a free will, and he makes real choices with consequences. So man's choice, we will talk more about it in the coming weeks, when we are talking about the nature of man and how we have free will, how we make choices, and those things we will be talking a little bit more in the coming weeks. But right now we will talk about God's sovereignty. So God's sovereignty is true. He reigns over all His creation, and He is absolutely supreme. He has all the authority to reign over His creation. However, He chooses to give man a free will. So it's almost like man in this core making choices, and they are real choices with real consequences. And God's purpose and God's sovereign purpose almost like covers this entire free will realm, and He is all over it, and His purpose can be accomplished by no matter what choices we make. So that is how we reconcile it. For example, I read this explanation in the book called Attributes of God by A.W. Tozer, and it made so much sense to me. So it is like we are all traveling in a ship to a particular destiny, and when on the way we make so many choices inside the ship, We make choices like when we eat, when we sleep, what we talk, all those things. But however, this entire ship is going in a direction to that particular set destiny that is set. No matter what choices we make inside the ship, that's not going to change the destiny that this particular ship is traveling towards. That is how God's sovereignty works. So He has a purpose no matter what happens, no matter how painful, how bad the situation right now is. He can accomplish His sovereign purpose by all the choices we make, all the good choices, bad choices, worst choices we make. He can still use it all for His sovereign purpose. So that is a faith of Christianity. When we say God is sovereign, that is exactly what we are talking about. So in a simple way, when we say God is sovereign, we are not talking about power, rather we are talking about authority, His reign, His rule. That is we are talking about. But then when we're talking about sovereign, that word is a little hard. It's almost like a government kind of an authority, but that is not what we are talking about. When we are talking about God, it is almost like a king, personal kind of authority. So the king has a rule over his subject, but he has a personal interest on his subjects as well. So exactly like that. So when we say God is sovereign, we mean God is a ruler. He has an authority over everything, but it is not like a set of rules and regulation that He is going to rule, but it is almost like a king and his subjects that He rules, but He has a personal connection with His subjects. So that is what we mean when we say God is sovereign. But this is the truth, that He rules over everything, and His sovereign purpose is accomplished no matter what choices we make, but we also have real choices. So that is what it means when we say God is sovereign. So in the upcoming week, we are going to be talking about how this faith about God's sovereignty is going to shape our worldview. So that is what we will be talking about in the next week video. If you're interested, please come back to our video. And if you like this video, please like, share and comment. And if you like all our videos, please consider subscribing our channel. May God bless you, and thank you so much for watching this video.